course, you remember Donald Trump Jr. meeting with lawyers connected to the Russian government. They sent emails saying, hey, the Russian government can help your father with his campaign. Donald Trump Jr. replied, I love it. Now, we found out all that information later, but in the beginning, all we knew was that there was a meeting. Now, at that point, the administration had a decision to make. Do they come clean about the meeting? Because not only did it involve the president's son, but it involved his campaign manager at the time, Paul Manafort, and Jared Kushner, one of his top advisors. So there they are meeting with a foreign government and trying to get information from them against their opponent. Now that is illegal in a couple of different ways. And so the advisors rightly said to Donald Trump Sr., the president, they were on Air Force One, they said, we should come clean with this story because it is likely to come out anyway. The New York Times is already onto it. Several other publications are onto it. We should leak it to a friendly publication. They even named one, Circa, and try to do damage control afterwards. They were overruled by the president. And apparently he said, no, we are going to tell them that the meeting was not about the campaign, which is not true. It was. And now it has been confirmed that it was. So that is the story that the Washington Post broke today. So let me give you the details. Flying home from Germany on July 8th, the Washington Post reports, aboard Air Force One, Trump personally dictated a statement in which Trump Jr. said that he and the Russian lawyer had, quote, primarily discussed a program about the adoption of Russian children when they met in June 2016, according to multiple people with knowledge of the deliberations. Now, Trump at that point knows that was not the main point of the meeting. The main point of the meeting, as Donald Trump Jr. later admitted, was to actually get campaign dirt on Hillary Clinton. So that's lie number one. Now let's move on to lie number two. The statement issued to the New York Times as it prepared an article emphasized that the subject of the meeting was, quote, not a campaign issue at the time. All right, so Washington Post explains what actually happened. Of course, over the next 3 days, multiple accounts of the meeting were provided to the news media as public pressure mounted, with Trump Jr. ultimately acknowledging that he had accepted the meeting after receiving an email promising damaging information about Hillary Clinton as part of a Russian government effort to help his father's campaign. So why is this so important? Well, let's get into that. As special counsel Robert Mueller looks into potential obstruction of justice as part of his broader investigation of Russian interference in the 2016 election, these advisors worry that the president's direct involvement leaves him needlessly vulnerable to allegations of a cover-up. Now, if you're a savvy commander-in-chief, and by the way, anyone who's managed anything before, let alone something of this magnitude, even if you did something wrong, and it appears they certainly did something wrong, you would want your hands clean. You would assign that to someone else. But Trump is not bright enough. And his advisors are telling him, Mr. President, don't get involved. You already said you fired Comey over the Russia investigation. That's already an obstruction of justice possibility right there. So no, he's like, no, I got this. All right, let's make sure that we say it wasn't about the campaign. But Mr. President, it was about the campaign, we know it. Just say it wasn't about the campaign. There's two things here. One is he's a pathological liar, he can't help himself. He's like, why don't we just lie? It's okay. Hey Donald, you're not a reality show host anymore. Back then, people weren't investigating your life. You could claim you're worth $10 billion and nobody would prove otherwise. You could claim all sorts of things and people didn't find out. Now, people find out, but he still doesn't get it. And secondarily, people are constantly confused. Why is he needlessly getting involved? Because he knows something you don't know, which is that he did it. He does have a deal with the Russians. Why do you think he's doing all of this to cover it up? And firing Comey now wants to fire Sessions and Mueller and is personally writing the responses to the papers. They're constantly confused. They're like, I wonder why he's doing that. Because he knows something you don't know. He does have a deal with the Russians. It's not that complicated. All right. So, but to be fair, they're seeing if he had direct involvement in this. Let's see if he did in this particular case. Air Force One took off from Germany shortly after 6 p.m., about noon in Washington. In a forward cabin, Trump was busy working on his son's statement. According to the people with knowledge of the events, the president dictated the statement to Hicks, who served as a go-between with Trump Jr., who was not on the plane, sharing edits between the two men, according to people with knowledge of the discussions. This is not conjecture on our part. These are people who were on the plane, who were advisors, who saw it happening, and who said, yes, the president was dictating the response to the New York Times, which we now know for a fact is filled with lies. Now, look, some people are saying, well, it's okay, the president can lie to the press. That's true, that's not illegal to lie to the press. I don't think it's a good idea, but it's not illegal. But if you know that there is an active investigation, it could easily be witness tampering. If Donald Trump Jr. took a meeting with the Russians and lied about it, and they're investigating a connection, as Mueller is now, between Russia and the Trump campaign, is Donald Trump Jr. a potential witness? Almost 100% certain that he is. So that could easily be witness tampering, and it shows evidence of a consciousness of guilt. Because not only are you messing with what a witness is saying in public, and then potentially to investigators, but you know exactly what you're doing. You're dictating the note. If anyone didn't do it, they would not get this involved. That's unbelievable. And number two, even if you're trying to cover it up, if you had any intelligence at all, this is not how you would do it. You would go about it in a much savvier way. But he's not that bright. What did I tell you from day one? Because of all the connections we already know that are public, it is very likely he had a deal with the Russians. And part two is equally important. I've been saying from day one, he's too stupid to cover it up. He's doing these potential crimes out in the open where we can all see them. In some ways, Mueller's investigation is incredibly difficult because you're investigating the president of the United States. You have to be 100% sure and have the best evidence in the world. So this is not a normal person. Circumstantial evidence, although it is plentiful, is not going to be able to be enough to charge a sitting president of the United States. But God, the presidents make it easy for him. Maybe not on the core charge, but now on obstruction of justice, witness tampering, it's a layup. All right, so we go to the White House advisor, who's one of the sources here, and they continue to be perplexed. They say about what Trump did there, this was, quote, unnecessary. Now someone can claim he's the one who attempted to mislead. Somebody can argue the president is saying he doesn't want you to say the whole truth. Yeah, that's exactly what they can say, and likely will say, because that's exactly what happened, even according to you, the person who's telling this to the Washington Post. But even those guys, they still don't get it. They're like, it's so unnecessary. Why is he doing this cover up? Why is he doing a cover up? Boy, that really is a complicated question. Okay, one last one. Now, this is a lawyer, Peter Zeidenberg, and he worked in previous administrations, I think a Republican one, but I'll look that up for you in a second. He said, the thing that really strikes me about this is the stupidity of involving the president. They are still treating this like a family-run business, and they have a PR problem. What they don't seem to understand is that this is a criminal investigation involving all of them. Yeah, he was a special prosecutor under George W. Bush, Zeidenberg was. But like the other Republicans, he keeps wondering, why don't they understand this is a criminal investigation? No, you don't understand. Trump knows it's a criminal investigation, and he knows that unless he obstructs it in every way possible, they will find out what he actually did, which is potentially way worse than what we already know about obstruction of justice or witness tampering. He's like, witness tampering, wait till they find out what we're covering up. So oftentimes people will say the cover up is worse than the crime. My guess is, given how furiously he's trying to cover it up here, and given his business dealings in the past, no, the cover up is terrible and now out in the open, but what they're covering up is likely to be far, far worse. Help us build independent media together. TYTnetwork.com/join.